So when they get a Tempus report or a Garden report or a Caris report, what does it actually mean? Why would it be carried out? And what do Astron do with it?
Okay, here we go. So a molecular genomic report, regardless of the company, what it is looking at are the genomic alterations specific to your cancer. Those typically fall into a couple types of categories. So there are what's called activated oncogenes. And so what that is a mutation within a gene that is like a gas pedal. It is instructing your cells to divide and carry out all the pathological processes of a cancer cell. There's also mutations in something called tumor suppressors, and those act like brakes. So when there's a mutation in those genes, it takes the brakes off and allows those cells to divide uncontrollably. There are also other alterations called amplifications where a cancer cell will amplify copies of a specific gene. So if you've heard of, for example, HER2 positive cancer, that is a copy number alteration where it overexpresses a receptor on the cell that makes it hyper responsive to growth signals. So those are sort of the categories of mutations you'll see on a genomic report. What the strategy that sort of was first proposed in the 1980s was called precision oncology. The idea that you would develop drugs to target the specific alterations within an individual's cancer. It's an attempt of personalized medicine in cancer, as opposed to traditional chemotherapy, which targets the ubiquitous, the common feature to everybody's cancer, which is uncontrolled growth. So it's a very sort of intellectual, satiating idea on how to target cancer. It does have limitations in the fact that there are about 7% of the molecular alterations on any given person's report will have an FDA-approved precision targeting drug to match that. So the simple question, there was a question in a study that was done in 2019 called iPredict. The question the study addressed was, can outcomes be improved when you disregard the regulations telling oncologists when to prescribe certain precision drugs and just target every single mutation that's possible on a patient's report? And what they sort of stratified that into two groups: the patients that were able to target 50% or greater of their molecular alterations, or 50 or less than 50%. And the outcomes were very significantly improved in the group where they were targeted more mutations. So the reason we started Astron is because we recognize the tremendous potential of coupling drug repurposing to precision oncology. When you do this, you exponentially expand the number of alterations you're able to target with drugs. For example, say a given patient's report has a p53 mutation, which is the most common mutation in cancer. There is no FDA-approved drug for that. It's been known, most of you have probably heard of metformin as a repurposed drug in cancer. It's been known for a long time that metformin has a greater anti-cancer activity in people with p53 mutations. So that's one way. It targets sort of, when p53 is mutated, it upregulates a lot of cancer pathways that metformin is able to target. Another way we can do that is through this concept called synthetic lethality. When p53 is mutated, the cell relies on a cyclic kinase gene that we are able to target through, for example, lovastatin and aspirin. So that's one example of how we expand the number of targets or drugs that are able to hit the targets within a patient's report.